Many people within Christianity value relationships with other people over everything. They will go to great lengths to avoid being at odds with another person. They believe it is a failure to have a broken relationship. However, Jesus made some comments that contradict that philosophy. He taught there is something more important than being at peace with our fellow man. We will read about that in Luke 14:26 after we read two parables about the kingdom of God. According to Luke 13:22, Jesus was on his way to Jerusalem. When he ate bread in the house of a leader of the Pharisees, he noticed the invited guests picking out the best seats at the table. He warned them that if they sat in the best seat and someone more important arrived, then the host would ask them to move and they would be humiliated. Let's start reading at Luke 14, verse 10. But when you are invited, go and recline at the last place, so that when the one who has invited you comes, he may say to you, "Friend, move up higher." Then you will have honor in the sight of all who recline at the table with you. For everyone who exalts himself will be humbled, and he who humbles himself will be exalted. This warning and suggestion is applicable today. If you go to a wedding reception and sit at the head table, you will be asked to move and make way for the bride and groom. If you occupy the corner office, you may be asked to move out in favor of the CEO. If you park at the door, you may be asked to make room for a handicapped person or a delivery. On the other hand, if you occupy the worst office, you may be offered a better office. If you park at the outer fringe of the parking lot, you may be invited to park closer. Verse 12. And he also went on to say to the one who had invited him, "When you give a luncheon or a dinner, do not invite your friends or your brothers or your relatives or your rich neighbors, lest they also invite you in return, and that will be your repayment." This seems to contradict being part of a church or a family. Part of being a church or family is eating together. Thus, we need to eat with people who will invite us to eat with them. The key phrase in this verse is the last phrase. That will be your repayment. When we show hospitality to people who can do the same to us, the only reward we will have is them hosting us. Verse 13. But when you give a reception, invite the poor, the crippled, the lame, the blind, and you will be blessed, since they do not have the means to repay you, for it will be repaid to you at the resurrection of the righteous. Notice the phrase, "do not have the means to repay you," and the phrase, "be repaid to you at the resurrection." If we want eternal rewards, we need to show hospitality to those who do not have the ability to host us. I don't think Jesus is telling us to never entertain family and friends or those who can do the same for us. Instead, he is making us aware that the only way to earn eternal rewards when we entertain is to show hospitality to people who do not have the means to repay the favor. Verse 15. But when one of those who were reclining at the table with him heard this, he said to him, "Blessed is everyone who will eat bread in the kingdom of God." Notice the phrase, kingdom of God. The following verses are a parable. Since the man mentioned the kingdom of God, we know the following parable is about the kingdom of God. Verse 16. And he said to him, "A man was giving a big dinner, and he invited many." The man represents God, and the many represent the Jewish leaders. The dinner represents Jesus coming to earth. Verse 17. And at the dinner hour he sent a slave to say to those who had been invited, "Come, for everything is ready now." But they all alike began to make excuses. The first one said to him, "I have bought a piece of land and I need to go out and look at it. I ask you, consider me excused." And another one said, "I have bought 5 yoke of oxen and I am going to try them out. I ask you, consider me excused." And another one said, "I have married a wife, and for that reason I cannot come." Just as the invited guests made excuses and rejected the opportunity to attend the banquet, so too the Jewish leaders rejected Jesus. Verse 21. And when the slave came back, he reported these things to his master. Then the head of the household became angry and said to his slave, "Go out at once into the streets and lanes of the city and bring in here the poor and crippled and blind and lame." The head of the household invited the poor and sick to his banquet. Likewise, while the Jewish leaders rejected Jesus, the Jewish people in general flocked to Jesus and adored him. Their adoration was exhibited when Jesus rode into Jerusalem on a donkey. Verse 22. And the slave said, "Master, What you commanded has been done, and still there is room." And the master said to the slave, "Go out into the highways and along the fences and compel them to come in, so that my house may be filled." The master sent his slave out of town to fill his house. In the same way, after his death and resurrection, Jesus sent his apostles to all the world, including to the Gentiles. Verse 24, "For I tell you, none of those men who were invited shall taste of my dinner." The Jewish leaders should have been first to welcome Jesus. Instead, they rejected him and were rejected by God. Verse 25, "Now many crowds were going along with him, and he turned and said to them, 'If anyone comes to me and does not hate his own father and mother and wife and children and brothers and sisters, yes, and even his own life, he cannot be my disciple.'" Many people within Christianity value relationships with other people over everything. They will go to great lengths to avoid being at odds with another person. They believe it is a failure to have a broken relationship. However, Jesus said in order to be his disciple, we need to hate our own family. In fact, we need to hate ourselves. Being at peace with all people should not be our highest goal. Instead, being at peace with Jesus should be our top priority. Obeying him and knowing the Bible are the things we need to focus on above everything else. Verse 27, "Whoever does not carry his own cross and come after me cannot be my disciple." In their culture, when a person was carrying a cross, it meant he was on his way to be crucified. In order to be a disciple of Jesus, we have to sacrifice our own life and follow him. Verse 28, "For which one of you, when he wants to build a tower, does not first sit down and calculate the cost to see if he has enough to complete it? Lest when he has laid a foundation and is not able to finish, all who observe it begin to ridicule him, saying, 'This man began to build and was not able to finish.'" Many churches today place great emphasis upon gaining as many so-called converts to Christianity as they possibly can. Thus, when they supposedly share the gospel, they do not talk about the cost or difficulty of being a Christian. Instead, they make it sound like becoming a Christian is easy and life as a Christian is pain-free. However, Jesus taught the opposite. He used the illustration of a builder who counts the cost before he starts so that he knows he has enough money to finish. Likewise, before becoming a disciple of Jesus, people need to count the cost. Following Jesus means obeying Jesus. Therefore, a non-Christian needs to understand what they need to stop doing and what they need to start doing if they become a Christian. Furthermore, true Christians will be persecuted for following Jesus. Some people are rejected by family and friends when they become a Christian. Non-Christians need to understand that before they decide to become a Christian. Many people within Christianity believe it is a failure to have a broken relationship. However, Jesus said in order to be his disciple, we need to hate our own family. In fact, we need to hate ourselves. Being at peace with all people should not be our highest goal. Instead, being at peace with Jesus should be our top priority. Obeying him and knowing the Bible are the things we need to focus on above everything else. Thanks for visiting Bible Mountain. If you have already joined my email list, thank you, and please tell others about Bible Mountain. If you have not joined my email list yet, please do so now. In order to join, go to BibleMountain.com, click on subscribe, and that will take you to a page where you can sign up. Your email address will not be sold nor given away. Once again, thanks for visiting Bible Mountain.